Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Red Sea podcast. Back to my last appearance in at least a couple of days. Hopefully, just a day, but we'll see. And thankfully, I am going into this 1-2 day medical break with as positive of a message as possible, even though I feel like the game aged us about 5 years in the last 10 minutes or so. And especially the chance where LKB, I think, missed his first open net goal for the first time ever in his whole career, probably. That alone gave us a heart attack. So, of course, I couldn't be doing this show alone. How are you, man? Aside from very, very tired. You are muted. Let me unmute
I
you.
didn't have it
You
on
got
mute
it
at the
again.
beginning. A lot better than I would have been if we would have done a repeat of PSV. Like you said, very stressful game, probably more stressful than it needed to be, but it was worth the 10-year wait, I guess, to finally get an away win in the Champions League again.
I did not remember that the last time we got an away win in the Champions League, I was 11. I did not remember that. And in a very similar fashion as well, to be fair. Very similar goal, very similar score. Not as similar of an importance, but thankfully we are talking about quite the important victory, and a victory that came through basically an 11v1 game with the stats I boosted yesterday, but the game really resembles a FIFA game with a 2.37 expected goals on our end, 8 saves from the goalkeeper, 3 big chances missed, and 3 more times we hit the woodwork, with some notable chances being Taremi's 1v1, as I mentioned a bit ago, the LKB chance, the LKB header, the LKB volley. I feel like LKB alone had like 1.5 expected goals, and so on and so forth. So I guess that's a good starting point. Was that, in your opinion, an efficiency problem on our end? Or did we just, as per usual, face a Buffon clone in the Champions League?
I mean, I think it was a bit of both. Obviously, there were some definite issues with our finishing. Like you said, the Taremi missing a basically open net, El Kabi missing a basically open net. I would say those are the two big ones that stand out as, on our end being just poor finishing. And it, is what it is that happens. But I do think you do have to give a lot of credit. I said it after the game. Temirlan and Arbekov, that guy is insane. I mean, genuinely, like I'm not being funny right now. Like that might be one of the best like goalkeeping performances I've ever seen. I mean, he was stopping literally everything, and it took a perfect shot from an area you wouldn't expect a player to shoot from to beat him. So I mean, I think you have to give credit there as well. But the fact that we created the volume of chances that we did, the fact that we looked as free flowing against a team that was practicing a low block. I think we did a much better job than we did in a match like Paphos, for example. Paphos, we had maybe one or two real clear cut chances. And one of those was Panos Derechos, blasting it from 20 yards. We didn't have that problem in this match. We were creating the chances. We were getting into their box. So I think that does say a lot as far as this team progressing and learning from some of our mistakes, but still a work in progress. And I think too, it's worth noting, very difficult environment to play in. Yes, it was indoors. It was still freezing inside that stadium. They're still playing on a plastic pitch. That I think that has to come into part of it as well. So for me, I focus less on the poor finishing or any of those flaws that might have come from our side. We ground out a really difficult result in a difficult environment against a goalkeeper who's staying on his head. To me, that's just overly positive. So I'm happy with the performance and how we did. There's obviously always things to clean up, but I think that's my main takeaway.
I think the best way to really put it, as well as we have performed in the past few games where we haven't really been able to get the results, is that we finally looked like a Champions League club. We had 27 shots, if I'm not mistaken, 27 chances. It's 25-ish, some more, some less. And we, as you said again, the Paphos problem just wasn't there. We had clear-cut chances. We had chances that, honestly, up until a point, weren't even supposed to be saved. So it's respect to the Karat keeper on my end as well. I said it on socials. I said it everywhere after the game. And we scored, I think, the best thing to describe it as, we scored a Champions League goal. It was very reminiscent, even though a bit easier in circumstances, but as smart as the goal that Luis Diaz had scored for Bayern. And I wanted to segue into the general better playing way that we saw, but before we get into that, and Mouzakitis more specifically, I want to get into the man that scored, because Zelson has heard all the criticism this season. He's been one of the scapegoats, as I'm tending to call them now. And if it wasn't for Zelson, mainly, of course, there are other factors we'll get into very quickly, but if it wasn't for Zelson's goals, which is arguably the weakest part of Zelson's game, we'd be even lower and 4 points lower in the Champions League, and we'd be out. So in his weird way and in his weird play style, how crucial do you think Zelson has truly been, especially in comparison to a not so in form Daniel Podence?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest comparison you draw. I mean, I think the roles were flipped as far as expectations. I think we expected Dani to come in and be the focal point winger that we've seen in his previous 2 stints at Olympiacos. And Zelson, like you said, I mean, he has a very unique play style. Obviously, he always gets involved even when he's not scoring. And he's a very important player for us. I mean, I think you saw the difference having him last season in the Europa League compared to not having him in Europe the previous season. He does add a lot more creativity and pace and just creates problems for opposing defenses. But, he does have that ability to create a spark. I mean, I think out of everyone in this squad right now, I think him and Gabriel Sterefetza, who I'm sure we'll talk about as well, those are the 2 guys right now who are like, you bring them in and they can create something. Whether it doesn't have to be a goal, but it's like they put pressure, unique pressure on the defense. So, I mean, I think he's been hugely crucial, and I hope that, the scoring he has done recently will get him to be a little more aggressive, because I think when he does get into those positions, and you saw it yesterday, I mean, if you look at the side angle of that goal, he's looking in the middle. That was his first instinct. I would love to see Zelson shoot that more. Just blast it at the net. We see this guy. He has a powerful shot. He has a good shot. Blast it. I mean, half of the time the goalkeeper is expecting you to do exactly what Anarbekov expected him to do. He shifted to the side because he thought that cross was coming in. That's one part of his game where I think he could definitely improve, is just like, be more aggressive. Think you can score because you can.
It's the ability, as you said, but if Zelson does actually go on and gain more confidence, as we've been talking about, I feel like ever since September, that the acquisition of a player like Gabriel Strefezza, who now we'll get into right after this, he's looking better than he ever has for the few months that he's been here. It's going to bring more confidence into people like Zelson as well, because they know they have another very competent, very effective, and a winger that complements their play style so they can truly just go out there and give it their all. And to slowly transition into Gabriel Strefezza, something that they do share, in my opinion, and that's something that you said last show as well. We're talking about big game players. Like, it's players that will show up when you need them to show up. And it's what I've been saying about Strefezza specifically, is that if he keeps giving it his all, day in and day out, the goals will come, the assists will come. I mean, assist-wise, he's the joint top assister in the team, along with Yusuf Yazid, if I'm not mistaken. So it's the power of modern football, in a sense, where you have two true and effective wingers at the top of their game, being able to feed either your lethal striker, despite the mishaps that he had against Kairat, he still has 16 goals this season, or to cut inside and score themselves, or gain a penalty, or whatever it may be. So, transitioning a bit to the other side. Again, comparatively to Danny, what do you think has gone better, except from the effort that he puts in himself, of course, for Strefezza in the last few games, which has honestly proved him to be such a game changer off the bench?
Well, I think it's one of the things, we talked about this when he signed. One of the unique things about Gabriel Strefezza is he's obviously a very good winger and he's dynamic going forward, but I think one of the not talked about enough strengths of his game is how much pressure he puts on defensively. I think his tracking back, he puts a lot of effort. He does a lot of running on the wing, and you saw yesterday towards the end of the match, which is why I think he's been so effective in these substitute appearances. Is he's playing against guys who've been playing for 80 minutes. So he's able to chase down and put pressure. And how many breakaways did we get out of Gabriel Strefezza pressuring a defender, getting the ball off of him, and then turning defense into offense? I think that's one of the main things for me that stood out is he offers that, and none of our other wingers really do. And I mean, most wingers in general don't offer that. He really can affect the game on both sides of the ball, and he can affect the game not having the ball. So, his ability to be mobile and get into spaces and put pressure on the other team, I think that is his biggest strength. And like you said, that's going to turn into goals and opportunities for him. He just needs to keep it up and continue to show those signs and continue to have a positive attitude about it as well. Because, I mean, that's one of the other things that's important is, a lot of guys, when they come in as a new signing, they don't start right away, or they don't get the opportunities that they think they deserve. I mean, this guy's like a record signing for us, and he largely didn't play for 2 months. I mean, he could have just sat there and sulked and not given it his all, but we've never seen that from him. So I think what he brings that is special and different to me is not his offensive prowess. We know that's there. He scored 6 goals in Serie A last season. We don't need to talk about that. We know he has that. It's the other things that he brings to the game that you wouldn't necessarily expect of a winger or someone in his position. And I think he's been hugely effective at that and bringing, his unique intangibles and play style to, the game when he comes in. Hey, you're muted.
Okay, I'm good now.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. My wife has just been very weird today, so I'm trying to balance that as well. I think the most important thing is the last thing that you said, and that's why I think he's been so important to Mendilibar. He's not someone that's, of course, as you mentioned as well, he has the talent, he has the ability to help a team statistically, he has the ability to assist, to score goals. But the main focal point of his game is both his off-the-ball work, of course, which has been insane. Even him starting to get more confidence and track back as well is more than enough for a winger of his style. But his spacing, his positioning, his runs, it's something that a team that wants to play at the Champions League level needs. It's as simple as that. Starfetch at his best is a player that we need. He's at this rate. I'll go back to what I had said a few shows ago. He'll be a starter, a regular starter, even with a fit Daniel Podence. He'll be a regular starter. At this rate, you can't replace him if he continues to add to the game that he's been showing and start scoring goals as well. You'll completely end up to a point without reason cut out a player at top of his form. And speaking of top of his form, you can't talk about anyone else aside from Mouzakitis, right? A player that apparently Real Madrid deemed to be the next Luka Modric, a player that just about has won everything he can at the age of, what even is, I keep forgetting, 19?
18.
He's 18.
18.
At a barely legal adult age, has won everything there is to win. I don't think he's missed any trophy he's competed for. Plus, of course, now he has the Golden Boy Award. And the player that it's gonna be his last season, like, let's be honest. He's gonna break Kostoulas' record. I think that's clear now. The asking price, the start price is more than what we sold Kostoulas for. We're talking about a starting price of 40 million. That alone is showing everything that he can give. That alone is showing more than enough on his value to a team. But aside from that, I'll go back verbatim to what I had said, that you can put this man against Real Madrid, you can put this man against Kairat, and you can put this man against fucking Kifisya, and he'll be your best midfielder. He controls the midfield, he controls the game, and it's what I was going to segue to with the point you brought up before. It's the reason the Passos problem wasn't there.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about his creativity, going forward and creating chances, which was on display yesterday. I mean, the goal started with him. Exactly. It's the other way around. But I think that what impressed me most about him yesterday was how he controlled the game physically. I think that's one of the areas of Musa's game that needs more development for sure. Just being that he's smaller in stature, he's going to have to bulk up, he's going to have to be able to hold his own more. But I think yesterday he did a fantastic job of that. I mean, the way that Kairat play, I said it during the match, they're a very Brexit football team. They're going to be very physical. They're going to be route one. They're going to try to just jam the ball through the middle. They had a lot of big physical players, especially centrally. And Musa never really shied away from any of those duels. He really wasn't losing any of them. You saw it looks like he's gotten quicker. I think that's something you could definitely say from last season. So he's really starting to develop physically as well. And, I think that's what's going to make him a truly elite player, like not just a golden boy. I'm talking an elite player in general, is when he adds more of those tools to his repertoire. And he's very quickly getting to that point. So, yesterday, the same player that we're used to seeing, with the passing and the vision and just the movement both on and off the ball. But I was mostly impressed by, how he physically controlled the game and really stood up to guys who are, half a foot taller than him and 15 years older than he is, and he just did not look out of place at all.
It will sound like a counter argument, and I wanted to present it like that, but it's more of an addition to what you said. Because, yeah, of course he needs to bulk up because his game alone, his play style alone is very physical, and he is a walking injury risk up until a point with how he plays. But he makes up for it because all love to Babis Kostoulas. He's doing incredibly. He's an immense talent and I love him to death. Mouzakitis and Kostoulas have a difference. Kostoulas has the talent. Kostoulas has all the talent in the world and he's gonna achieve a lot of things with it. Mouzakitis has the football IQ though. The way he plays, mixing the speed and the physicality of someone who's just coming up, someone who is 18, and the vision, the runs, the blocks of arguably a veteran of football. It's not just Modric-like. It's something that I dare say, and you can stop me if you think it's far-fetched, of course. I don't think we've seen stuff like that from a Greek midfielder ever, at least at such a young age.
No, I mean, most Greek midfielders, they're either very physical and strong in that side of the game, or they're very creative and strong in that side of the game. Another comparison I think I would pull is, look at Kostas Fortounis. Even now, but especially when he was younger, he's 6 feet tall. He's never been a very physical player. He has never been the most athletic. Granted, I still think he's the most talented Greek footballer in 15 years, probably since Karagounis was at his peak. I think that's without question. But he did not have those parts to his game, and those parts to his game never really developed, which is fine. He more than made up for it with his talent. But I think Mouza is already showing the signs that not only does he have the potential to develop that part of his game, despite having less physical tools as a guy like Fortounis, but he is. Like, we're not just talking about hypotheticals. He's doing it. I mean, this season, that has been a major improvement for him, and not just in this match, but I think this was the best representation of it. I mean, we talk about Real Madrid. He just played against a midfield that was, Valverde and Tchouaméni and Camavinga, and he was bossing it with those guys, and those are all big physical players. So I think I agree that he's not something we've ever seen, and that's why he has the potential, in my opinion, to be the greatest Greek player ever until another one comes along. He is such a complete player, and there's a lot of comps that you can draw. Like, obviously, I see Luka Modric. Another player I sometimes see when I watch Mouza is Marco Verratti. I think he has some similarities there as well. There's a lot of players, great players, that he's very similar to, and I don't think he's just like one of them. Like, that just gets back to your point of just he has so much. He's so well rounded at such a young age. So he continues to impress, and like you said, I would be blown away if he's on this team come July even. I mean, I think he's probably gone as soon as the season ends, just like Babis was last season.
I'm on the more hopeful side that the money won't be paid up in January, because then I'm hopeful, because we did pull up the win against Kairat. I'm hopeful that, of course, we sort of knew that, but if we do get that well-deserved qualification, I don't think Mendy lets anyone from the main 11 walk. That's certain on my end. But in regards to Mouzakitis, you brought up a point that I wanted to bring up as well. He took the creativity of Fortounis, who, as you said, is 6 feet tall. No way he was going to be physical at 6 feet tall with 2 ACLs. And he added the needed physicality to that. And of course, you can say Verratti, you can say Fortounis, you can say Modric, you can say whoever. But as you said, it's the point that I brought up. He's taken parts of players and mixed them together. And for a midfielder, let alone a Greek to have the football IQ and the hard work, adding to his immense talent, to watch his inspirations play and perfectly adapt stuff from their games to yours and improve on it at the age of 18 just sets you up for an insane career. And God help, I'm gonna knock on all the wood that Piraeus possesses. He's an athletic player. I know that I joked about him being a walking injury risk. He's gotten injured like what ever since he's been called up to the senior team? Twice? If even?
I mean, I can't even remember an injury reported on him. Obviously, there could have been something I missed, but he is a very, that's one of the other things. Like he's not tall, but he's a very like robust. Like he has a robust. Like he's a solid kid. So I mean, like you said, I think that's really the only thing that's going to derail him is if, God forbid, he has injury problems. But I think the way he plays too, I mean, it just goes back to his IQ and how cerebral his game is. He does get stuck in. He does go into challenges, but he's very measured when he does. And I think that's part of the reason why he's stayed relatively healthy is he's not throwing himself around. Everything he does is calculated. He knows what he's doing. He has a very, very good control of his body. I think that's another difference with Bobbius is it still seems like Bobbius is growing into his body even now. Musa, I mean, he seems very comfortable in his skin. Like he seems like he knows where he is. And at that age, that's rare because a lot of, guys that age, athlete or not, right? It's a little awkward because you've just grown a bunch in the past few years or you're still growing. And he hasn't really seemed to have that problem. So I think that's part of it. And, hopefully that continues, but it's just, he has so much intangible talent. And I think that's the biggest difference between him and somebody who's just technically gifted. He is technically gifted, but he has all of these other things that you really just can't teach.
And surely now, transitioning to another topic, surely he's the irreplaceable, undoubtable starter of this team, along with Santi S, for the important games, that is. And I feel like both you and me have been proven majorly right in the past few games, where we've seen Ese and Musa start, Musakic and Nascimento start, and Dani Garcia has been coming on the 70th minute, 75th, even the 80th to close out games. And the midfield has been working like a well-oiled machine. Everyone has their role, aside from very sadly Lorenzo Scipioni. But I'm starting to understand why his chances are more limited, and I'm sure that he will slowly but surely get more into Mendilibar's plans. There's no doubt in my head for that. I have a doubt for another player, but we'll get to that in a bit. If this continues, hopefully with everyone healthy, is this, as a whole, again, one of, if not the best midfields from top to bottom, from Chiquinho to Nascimento, for example, that we've seen at Olympiacos? And not only is this one of the best quality-wise, is this one of the more diverse midfields that we've seen? Because I feel like everyone, apart from Dani Garcia and Lorenzo Scipioni, I feel like everyone can play everywhere. Chiquinho can play the 8 and the 10. Musakitis can play both the 6, both the 8 and the 10. Nascimento, the same. Ese can play both the 6 and the 8. I feel like it's up there, at least.
No, I mean, it definitely is. I think one of the the things that I would want to point out, especially about Edse and Mousakidis in that partnership. They had usually Mendy plays with 3 midfielders. In most games, we start with 3 midfielders. A lot of these games, especially the past couple in the Champions League, we've been playing extensive parts of a match with 2 strikers, and we're still not falling off in the midfield. The fact that Musa and Eze by themselves can control the midfield, like we said against Madrid. I mean, I would love to say that. That might just be my bias showing. The fact that those two, I mean, we were playing with 2 strikers from 20 minutes against Madrid, and we did not lose. Again, like we said last time, we did not lose that match in the midfield. I think that definitely speaks to the strength of those 2 specifically at the top. I mean, they can play by themselves and we look fine. But like you said, you know, there is a lot more diversity. I mean, you even look at like last season, right? I mean, our depth after Musa and after Eze, I mean, our only other really serviceable midfielder was Dani Garcia. I mean, we were trying to get Stamenic out there. I mean, every other season. I mean, you look at a guy even like Nascimento. I mean, I think most other years he's at minimum 3rd choice midfielder, and he's what, 5th choice right now? I mean, I think that says an awful lot right there. And the fact that a guy like Dani Garcia, I mean, he's fallen out of that starting position. Again, he probably starts for most Olympiacos teams, or is at worst the 3rd. So, I mean, I think it's a great problem to have, especially when you do know that Musa's probably gone this summer. You hope that he's your all loss there. But it does make it so much easier to rotate. And I think that's what we've seen this season. And for the most part, we've stayed pretty healthy outside of a few guys who've had nagging injuries. And I think that's a big part of it, is just being able to rotate and fit different people in different places when you need it and not really skip a beat. But definitely, I think, you know, Musa and Eze, that has to be, for the rest of the season, that has to be your starting center midfield. Those are the 2 first names on the sheet. Because they've shown so much stability against really good opposition that I just don't think there's a real argument against it.
I mean, the better argument to talk about this midfield compared to the rest of the years at Olympiacos, Iliatsouras doesn't make the senior squad. A player like Argyris Iliatsouras would have been 4th choice at worst for most Olympiacos years I can remember. And he is at the youth league squad. Yeah, for sure.
He keeps Stamenic out of a job if he was this age last season.
So, up until a point, I think it becomes an undeniable argument as well, right? Again, the main thing I have to say with Olympiacos, I may be a bit more traumatized from the basketball side. God help everyone healthy, right? No injury problems. Because, of course, as the basketball fans know, we got Montemoris. Next day, Tyson Ward is out for a month. I'll get into that when I'm back from surgery. Because that's a whole different topic. Now, before we close up with the defense, because that's a whole different talk, especially with some rumors coming up. Two different points for Ayoub El Khawi. One is his renewal. Of course, Marseille talk, that's BS. That's been proven to be BS. I'm sure that Marseille may be the favorites to land him if he doesn't renew with us, but I can assure you all that absolutely nothing has been agreed. Either way, that would have been a breach of contract to negotiate now, so that's just okay. I didn't expect the announcement to come out while we were live. I'll get to that after. But surely you just give him a blank check, right?
I mean,
as far as I know, he has. I don't know if he's reached a verbal agreement. I know that he's close, but I've heard the arguments of the age and stuff, which up until a point I would understand, because we are talking about him getting into 35, 36 end of the next contract. But are you really gonna have doubts or consider someone like El Kabi, who is up until a point? Like, the man is getting better in every way, both technically and physically. At 33, right? I'm not completely mistaken.
I think he's 32. Let me look.
Yeah, either or, close enough. I think you give him a blank check and just give him a 2-year deal and be done with it. But I want to hear your opinion, of course, as always.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be 34 at the end of 34, 35 at the end of a 2-year contract. Like you said, I mean, he's not slowing down physically. I mean, you can tell when a guy just like, usually when that happens, especially due to age, I mean, that is usually a precipitous decline. I mean, we even saw it with El Arabi. I mean, after a while, his legs just went. I mean, he could still play, but he was not a guy who could give you 60, 70 minutes. He was a guy who could give you 15 minutes at the end of a match. But even then, I mean, he didn't get to that point until he's back end of 35, 36. And neither of these players, I mean, Ayub, his play style wasn't predicated on being super quick and being agile and this and that. Like his strength is his positioning and, you know, the how he's able to like get body into shape and position to score from an angle or anticipate a pass. I don't think those are things that are going to go away with your age. Finishing isn't going to go away with his age. We still see El Arabi, who's 38 now, scoring in Ligue 1. I mean, I don't have any concerns there. I think, like you said, at the current moment, not having a young player who is coming through at the moment who could replace him, having sold Babis Kostulas, who probably would have been your natural heir, I think it would be a risk to not sign him because of money, especially considering we're probably going to have 2 consecutive seasons of Champions League money. We had the big transfer last season with Bobby, so we're probably going to get another big transfer out of Musa. We could, in the next few years, get another big transfer out of someone like Zolakis. So I think that would be a silly reason not to renew him. I think the only reason that would make sense to be not to renew Ayub El-Kabi, which again, this would come down to him, is if he doesn't want to be here. If he doesn't want to be here, he's not going to sign it. So that's the only issue I have. If he wants to be here and he wants a 2-year contract and he wants to make $3 million a year, I don't have a problem with that. I think you do it because who are you going to bring in to replace him for a reasonable amount of money? You're going to have to go probably spend more on somebody. So at that rate, give him the $6 million for 2 years, and then that's that. You're muted. Oh, you're good. You're good now.
I'm good now. Yeah. I can't even really present any arguments to what you said, even though I don't think we'll even get up to 3 million. Like, we're not talking about a player that will ask for a salary that's unreasonable for his age, his standards, and his style. And we are talking about a player that feels like he's getting, as I said, he's getting better physically. Feels like he's getting faster at some points. It's the argument I keep bringing up. When, in the past few seasons, have you seen El-Kabi cut out to the wing and cross the goddamn ball inside? It's never. It's always never. It's almost never is what I meant to say. Of course, it's the confidence of having Tarem and Yaremchuk, which leads me to my second point. we're getting the first test, as we talked about the last show as well. We're getting the first test and the first taste of a month without El Kabi, around a month at least. For me, Morocco are one of the favorites to win the African Cup of Nations. He will probably at least make it to the semi-finals, so it will be a while until we get him back. I bring up a similar question I did last time. Is there a situation where a team feels more comfortable losing their starting striker, knowing you have not only Mehdi Taremi, but Roman Yaremchuk, both healthy and both ready, right behind Ayoub El Kabi, and knowing that you'll probably have an Ayoub El Kabi in even better form when he comes back after AFCON, probably also ready to sign the contract.
Looks like we lost Dennis, but I'll go and answer, and you can add any more that you had to say when you come back. I think again, this is the main reason why we signed Taremi. I mean, obviously, for most other clubs of our stature, he's a starter. I mean, you can make an argument that he deserves to be a starter for us. I mean, I know there's a lot of Persian football fans out there who have been screaming that for weeks and months. But this is the good problem to have, is you have two guys where it's like, yeah, both of them deserve to start. Both of them are good enough to start. But it's like, are you going to take a guy out who has 16 goals on the season in early December? But can you justify leaving Taremi on the bench? I mean, I think it's coming at a good time because, again, Mehdi has continued to be very effective and continued to have an impact on the game. He got an assist yesterday, even though he didn't score. He was very unlucky not to score. He was denied by an incredible save. And then the follow-up, I think to a degree was kind of a bad miss, but at the same time, I can see, I don't think he was expecting the ball to come to him. So I think that was part of it. But I don't have any concerns at all. I think if this happens last season, we're really worried because then you just have Yaremchuk and he wasn't in form yet. But now we have two strikers who are dependable and reliable, and one of them has a season of experience at the club under his belt as well. So I think this is honestly happening at a perfect time because I think we're getting to a point where Taremi deserves more minutes, and he's going to get them because we need another striker, and he's the very clear second choice. So we might still be having some technical difficulties. Just got to wait for it to cooperate. Okay, let's see.
It's doing its best, but I won't let it. Yeah. It is happening at the best time possible, honestly. It's happening at a time where it will be nothing but beneficial. Because aside from the points that I brought up before, which the timing of me getting cut out the moment I uttered my last word is insane. But it's as you said as well. You're talking about a backup striker being on the form of his life, ironically. And then you're talking about a player that has been here and needs more time here. And you're talking about them having the ability to play more without the pressure of an El Kabi in front of them, who is a legend of the club. And then when El Kabi comes back, in even better form himself, we'll probably start playing with two strikers like day in, day out. I think at this rate, you have to, up until a point. I don't remember who said it. I think it was you. who said it, that after a point it will be a necessity to play a 4-4-2 again. And it goes back to the midfield, where when the midfield is working as well as it has been, you can play a 4-4-2 now if you want to. You can trust that risk that's always been the only Olympiacos formation that's never worked out for some reason, at least in the past 4 or 5 years. Because you finally have the depth to do that. You finally have the quality to do that. You finally have the variety to do that. So I think the best way to put it, and to answer this question as well, which I saw and we basically got into, is that, yeah, we'll be more than fine, but we'll be even better with him here. Now, another debatable transfer and another rumor that's been flaring up with all the centre backs that have been connected with Olympiacos lately. Pirola. Pirola is a player that we won't be okay without, and I firmly believe that. Because, again, Righteous Biancon are the duo of the right centre back. Neither of them can play left centre back. And the man you have behind Pirola is clearly not ready yet. Finishing off his last appearance horribly, dare I say, and then having to pick it back up again. The names connected don't make sense if it's Pirola who is said to leave, if they have any basis, of course, right? Do you think that there is a chance we do see Gustavo Mancha gone, either on a transfer or a loan? Or do you think we're already looking for a Pirola replacement?
I mean, I hope we're not looking for a Pirola replacement because, like you said, he's irreplaceable. And again, the same thing I've said about Musa. I don't see either of them being a mid-season transfer because I don't see a club who's going to be willing to pay the money that we're going to demand also have a starting position available for either of them, right? And if you're going to be spending, 25, 30, 40 million on a player in January, that player's expected to come in and immediately be part of your team. So I'm not necessarily worried about that, but I do think that potentially Mancha getting a loan, I don't necessarily think we should sell him. Again, like I like the signs that I've seen from him. I think he just needs to go somewhere and get more experience, whether that's somewhere else in Europe or going to whatever we can figure out for him. I think that would be beneficial. So I think some of the rumors I've seen, like you said, some of them seem kind of out of left field. The way it usually goes with Olympiacos is it's usually like the fourth or the fifth rumor that's the one that's actually true and usually ends up actually happening. So we're probably a few weeks away from really getting an idea of who we're looking at. But to me, it screams of like a veteran player. I don't think we're going to go sign a young guy. I don't think we're going to go sign somebody who's unproven. I think you're going to see someone who's either in their late 20s or they're going to be in their early 30s, and either they've played at a big club or they've been a free agent for a while, whatever it is. And again, I see that being more of a depth signing. I don't see Olympiacos making any highline signings in January because I just don't think we need any. I think it's just going to be depth, and I would really say center back if Mancha leaves and left back are the only positions where we might need that. So that's my opinion. But again, like you said, I think we're a while away from releasing anything concrete.
I mean, the only rumor that I am at least at the tiniest bit inclined to actually go on and believe is Leo Pereira, the rumor that was alive the entirety of the summer. And again, I am a bit hesitant because even if he is said to be a Mancha replacement, for example, or an extra depth option, doesn't make sense either way, does it? Because on one side, yeah, okay, you can replace Mancha. There's Kalogeropoulos, who is much more ready and can play both sides of their central defense. So why bring in someone like a veteran? So you're not going to replace Mansa. Why bring in a center back at all? You have 5 to 6 after a point. So it's rumors that don't really make sense.
I think the only reason you do is, like we're seeing right now, you're one injury away from all of a sudden looking kind of thin, especially if you're in a big match. I think outside of Retz and Pirola, the only other center back we have that I would really trust in like an important game is Biancon, who's filled in seamlessly. We've had no issues since he's come in. Kalogeropoulos, like you said, I mean, he is a lot more ready. I don't think he's Champions League ready. I don't think he's, a high-intensity derby in the cup or in the playoffs ready. So that's my only concern. That I want to see him play more. But is that something we would really be comfortable with if that was our only option?
Honestly, I feel like Kalogeropoulos is derby ready. Well, I agree that he is not Champions League ready. I fully agree with that. I feel like someone like Kalogeropoulos, a player that has been tested in the Super League through his 2-year loan at Volos, has been crowned Young Player of the Year almost twice in his 2-year loan at Volos, has been one of the brightest centre-back prospects in Greece in general. I feel like he's Super League ready. But he needs that Super League experience and that even derby experience after a while to be Champions League ready. So yeah, that does make sense after a certain point. And to close off, before you have to go and my Wi-Fi tries to take me out again, even though thankfully it's not been that bad. I had a feeling we could do this even before the Kairat game. The feeling now strengthened. It's more a luck, I feel, like I said, as we were opening. But say we do this. What do you do after? Because, we can get the qualification and we deserve the qualification. Then it's Champions League knockouts. Do you treat January differently? Do you treat the mentality? Do you treat the goals differently? Do you just give the cup away? For example, to have your full focus on the league and the Champions League? Do goals change? It's quite a bit to think about.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I am fairly confident that we will qualify. Like, I really do think that we can win these last 2 games. A little damper on that might be the fact that Ajax came back and beat Karabakh in Azerbaijan. They scored 4 goals. So maybe they've finally woken up. So that might be a more difficult match than we had anticipated, but they should still be eliminated by that point.
Ironically, standing-wise, that's good for us. That's not bad.
Yeah. No, I mean, only bad in the sense that maybe they'll be in a better spot when we play them. But as far as if you make the knockouts, I mean, looking at the table, right, Olympiacos is probably going to be 20th through 24th. If we do get in, it's probably going to be a sneak in. And just looking at the table right now, that would mean that Olympiacos plays someone like Tottenham, Dortmund, Chelsea, or Manchester City. I would not place my bets on that personally. I mean, as much as I believe in this team and think that we can compete with anybody, over 2 legs, I don't know. So I think for me, I would say I wouldn't change the formula. If you make it to the knockouts, you made it to the knockouts. I wouldn't be going out trying to make signings. I wouldn't be going and trying to restructure the rest of my season. I think you just play it the way we've been playing it. You rotate as best you can. I don't think you push all your chips into one spot because, listen, I think it's highly unlikely that we win a knockout round just because we're playing teams that, all those teams I just listed, squad value is in the billions. It's not in the millions. these are teams that spend millions every window. To a certain degree, I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you changed the formula. Now, if we did somehow get a reasonable matchup, like Sporting is also in that area. So, like, if we get Sporting, oh yeah, you're gonna go and try to win that. But I mean, if you draw a really big European club, I think you just continue to play the way you've been playing it and hope for the best.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also a great message to close off the way you put it, that you just continue step by step. For example, you did massive thing now, and now you have to go and beat Aris. Which, again, it's Aris, it's probably the worst Aris in a decade. But it's Aris at Vikelidis, and for some reason that always worries me. I don't know why. But yeah, I think at least that's about it for the Karat game. I don't know if you want to bring up anything else. Otherwise, I'll make the announcement for tomorrow morning and we'll see what happens in general.
Yeah, I mean, the match this weekend, or you said it's away, so it's Sunday. We should hopefully have time by then for you to recover, and then we can hopefully be talking about a win after that. But like you said, the hardest part of this whole run that we want to go on is the first match, and we got that out of the way. So you just got to keep grinding it.
Yeah, exactly as you said. Then I'll be back Sunday, but that's no doubt. Worst case scenario, I'll be gone. I'll talk about that more extensively tomorrow before I head in. But worst case scenario, I'll be gone for 2 days. But as I said, the show will be in amazing hands, as it always is. So I'll see you all soon. We'll both see you on Sunday. And as always, thank you very much for keeping up, putting up, and supporting truly everything we do. Thank you.